Have you ever stopped to think what it's really like to live completely sealed off from the world, deep down at the bottom of the ocean? I know, it sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it's actually happening. And what's wild is that what we're learning down there on the seabed might just be the key to humanity's future up in the stars.
It's a weird question, isn't it? To go up, you first have to go down? But stick with me here because, as we're about to see, the crushing pressure and the profound isolation of the deep sea create a pretty much perfect training ground for that final frontier.
So, how does this actually work? Well, the concept is fascinatingly clever. Scientists use what they call analogs. Basically, places here on Earth that mimic the extreme conditions you'd find on other worlds. And it turns out, one of the best analogs for space isn't in some high-altitude desert or at the South Pole. Nope, it's at the bottom of the ocean.
And you can see exactly why. A place like the Aquarius Reef Base is an almost perfect stand-in for a space station. It's hostile, you're totally isolated, but here's the real kicker, you can't just leave. It's not like an astronaut can just pop outside for a stroll. And it's not like an aquanaut can just swim to the surface. They have to decompress for hours on end. You are truly 100% stuck there.
And that feeling of being well and truly stuck, brings us to the huge psychological challenges. I mean, living in a small metal tube at the bottom of the ocean puts the human mind under this incredible microscope, and it reveals a kind of pressure that has absolutely nothing to do with the water outside.
You know, experts even have a framework for this. They call it the ICE model. It's pretty simple. I is for isolation, being totally cut off from the world. C is for confinement, living in tiny, cramped quarters for months. And E is for extremity, knowing that one simple mistake could be fatal. Sound familiar? It's the exact same psychological cocktail that astronauts have to deal with.
And this really drives that parallel home. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with the crushing water pressure on one side or the absolute vacuum of space on the other. Psychologically, it's the same deal. You can't get home quickly. The isolation is real. About the only major difference is what's outside your window. A teeming, vibrant ecosystem versus a cold, lifeless void.
But the stress, it goes so much deeper than just feeling trapped. Just look at this list. Your senses are either totally deprived in the darkness, or they're completely thrown off by artificial lights that are on 24/7. Your body's internal clock just gives up. And on top of all of that, you've got to perform these incredibly complex, high-stakes tasks with the same small group of people, day in, day out. The pressure on those relationships is just enormous.
And we are not talking about a weekend trip. Look at that number, 100. That is how many days people in missions like Project Neptune have spent sealed underwater. 100 days. That's how we get the most critical data on the absolute limits of human psychological endurance. So, with all of that unbelievable stress, why in the world would anyone sign up for this?
Well, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because while the confinement is a source of just immense stress, the ocean itself offers a profound and frankly totally unexpected psychological gift.
Remember that number, 100 days of isolation. Just keep that intense pressure in your mind as we uncover the incredible paradox of what it's like to live down there.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. Even though you're in one of the most hostile environments imaginable, the simple act of just being near, of looking out into the ocean, it can be deeply therapeutic. It can actually bring on feelings of calm and peace. How is that even possible?
Well, it's a real, scientifically documented thing called the blue space effect. Researchers have actually found that just looking at the sea can literally change your brainwave frequencies, pushing your mind into a state that's a lot like meditation. It's almost like it taps into something ancient inside of us, right? Some primal connection to the water. It's like a powerful natural tranquilizer.
And the results are very real. This effect isn't just some vague feeling of being calm. No, it's been shown to actively reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. It helps you achieve a state of mindfulness, of just being present in the moment, which, as you can imagine, is an incredibly powerful weapon against the stress of being so isolated.
So the aquanauts who succeed, they don't just endure it, they have a strategy. First, they actively lean into that blue space effect. Second, they use it to practice deep mindfulness. But there's a third piece of the puzzle, and it is absolutely critical. They have to hold on to a clear and driving sense of purpose.
Take a real-world example, Dr. Joe Daturi. During his record-breaking stay underwater, he wasn't just killing time,
He had a mission. He was doing marine conservation research, and he was teaching science to kids online. That sense of purpose, of contributing to something much bigger than himself, that was his psychological anchor in the deep. So what does all this mean for our future, whether it's in the deep ocean or in deep space? Well, it tells us that surviving in these extreme environments is about so much more than just engineering and technology. It's really about understanding the software of the human mind. So what's the big takeaway here? First, the very environment that causes all that stress can also paradoxically bring profound peace. So for Mars, this means future astronauts need to find their own blue space. Maybe it's virtual reality or tending a small garden. Second, we've learned that a sense of purpose isn't some luxury, it's a survival tool. A Mars crew's scientific mission, that's not just a task list, that's their psychological lifeline. And that all leads to the final, most important lesson. For the next generation of explorers, psychology is just as vital as rocket science. The mind is part of the mission.
Which leaves you with a final, powerful thought, doesn't it? As we push the boundaries of human exploration, as we venture into these incredibly hostile worlds, maybe the greatest frontier we have left to conquer isn't the vastness of space, but the complexities of the human mind itself.